Alright, what's going on, guys? A series of video games that we don't normally talk about much here on the channel, but is very close to my heart, is the Elder Scrolls series. Skyrim is one of my favorite games of all time, and I've played through it countless times, and like many of you, have been eagerly awaiting Elder Scrolls 6 ever since. And when it comes to video game announcements, it's hard to imagine one more notorious than the teaser trailer for the Elder Scrolls 6. And with a lot of recent news, this situation has gotten crazy. There has been a major milestone reached with the Elder Scrolls 6 announcement, in that the announcement itself is now older from today than it was to the release of Skyrim when it dropped. For context, Skyrim released on November 11th, 2011, almost 13 years ago, and the teaser for the Elder Scrolls 6 dropped on June 10th, 2018. And it doesn't feel like it, but we really are almost 7 years since that announcement. And since then, from the official side of things, it's been complete radio silence from Bethesda, but at least unofficially, we have a lot to discuss. Details about the game's creation, the setting, where the actual work on the game is at the moment, some leaks going around, and a lot to discuss about a potential Oblivion Remaster, and we're gonna break all that down. So as we get started today, if you are new to the channel, go ahead and do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and with all that, let's begin. Now, a good place to start is to begin by discussing the more reliable things we've heard. Now, one of the first hints we ever got about a possible setting of the Elder Scrolls 6 came from a tweet from the official Elder Scrolls account back in 2020, saying, "Transcribe the past and map the future," with an image of the map of Skyrim. But the map is more focused in the bottom left, which is obviously unmapped and we would need to transcribe. And that region is Hammerfell, which has been a running theory for a long time in the Elder Scrolls community that it would be the setting of the next game. And lately, there's been a lot of hints to back that up. Now, Hammerfell is a very vast region with lots of diverse landscape, but its most famous part is the Alikir Desert, and it is also the home of the Red Guards, who are very characterized around this desert climate. But what's very interesting about this is that fans have been digging deep on the internet and found more hints that yes, this likely is the setting of the Elder Scrolls 6. And one of these hints actually comes from a developer's Pinterest board, which is very clearly looking for ideas for designs for a desert nomadic people. Looks a lot like the Red Guards to me. Later on, we see a page of desert landscapes, which is painting a pretty clear picture here. Now combine that with a post from a Bethesda developer just a few days ago, wearing a head wrapping, and appears to be out in the field, possibly getting inspiration. So those are kind of the official reasons why the community is so sold on the idea of Hammerfell being the next setting. That and the fact that it's one of the only regions of Tamriel we haven't explored in an official title yet. But what else do we know about this game? Well, there have been a lot of insights into the actual way the game is going to run, what it's going to be built off of, and unfortunately, the best comparison we have is Starfield. Now, I say unfortunately, because the game ran very poorly on console, being locked at 30 FPS and not even achieving that most of the time, and on PC, although you could get better performance, it was still just not up to par with other modern games. And it has been confirmed that the Elder Scrolls 6 will be built off the creation engine 2 that Starfield was. But Todd Howard did say that specific technologies for the Elder Scrolls 6 have been developed in the engine, and I hope that means the game is going to perform a lot better, especially since it's likely still well over a year out at the soonest. And that's one of the major topics we need to discuss, and ironically what we've gotten the most information about from very reliable sources. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the story and the following court cases around Microsoft buying Bethesda, which ultimately did go through, where one of the major points of contention was the future of the Elder Scrolls 6, which they know is likely going to be their biggest cash cow in the future. And we actually got a roadmap from that, where it lists the Elder Scrolls 6 as coming in 2026 or later, and also unfortunately lists that it won't be released on PlayStation. Now, one thing you will notice about that roadmap is that all of the games before Elder Scrolls 6 have released, they've come and gone, which in the bit of good news here means that Elder Scrolls 6 is now the primary focus, and we're now at a time where it's more likely than ever to get official news. But now we have to ask, at what stage is the actual development of the game? Well, the most recent official news we have about that comes from Bethesda's head of publishing, Pete Hines, who said before the release of Starfield in 2023 that the Elder Scrolls 6 is still several years off and has just now left pre-production into early development. And the reason for that was because they were all hands on deck for Starfield. Now here, going on 2 years later from that interview, we haven't actually gotten an update on that. But one thing that is slightly refreshing to hear is that in an interview with Mr. Matty Plays, Todd Howard broke down that, unlike Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a long-time investment for the company. They're looking at a 10-year lifespan for the game, and I'll quickly play you the clip of that.
Going back to that people staying in games, we went into 76 knowing, hey, this is a game we're going to support for as long as we can. Starfield, we go into that knowing the same thing. And as we go into Elder Scrolls 6, we sort of, with all of these games, you got to start now by thinking about like a 10-year horizon, right? How do we support a game for that long?
With that in mind, because you mentioned like future games, I know you want to let it have its moment and everything, but is Elder Scrolls 6 like in that bag of, yeah, we got to start thinking long-term roadmap for that, you know, what's 10 years of support looking like for that? Because I remember you said with Skyrim, you know, that kind of changed your outlook on how things work, because people just kept coming back to Skyrim, and it's like you continue to support it. So with Elder Scrolls 6 going in with that knowledge, is the plan like a long-term support for that too?
100%. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Seeing what Skyrim has done or other games. And I think you could say, look, for Elder Scrolls 6, yeah, I'll just stop there.
So at least on the bright side, we know that this game is going to be huge and be supported for a very long time. And I gotta be honest, at this point, that's the least they can do. If you're gonna make us wait almost 7 years from the first teaser before we ever get any more official info, I think we as fans are owed a product that the studio is going to fully invest in. And this is where I need to voice some concerns. Because if Starfield's what we have to go off of for the Elder Scrolls 6, I'm not happy with that. Because realistically, we're not looking at the same talent that made Skyrim making the Elder Scrolls 6. In such a long span of time, there's been a lot of turnover at the studio. The main one that comes to mind for me is Jeremy Soule, and I'm not going to get into the reason for him leaving or being let go, but you have to admit that the soundtracks he created were some of the most iconic in gaming history. Even now, I listen to the Skyrim soundtrack all the time, and that was one of the main components in making that world feel alive and immersive. But on the flip side, when I look at Starfield, I put over 30 hours into the game and really didn't enjoy any of it. The whole thing just felt bland, uninspired, and boring. The writing was genuinely bad. The characters were lifeless. The worlds were empty. And the entire time I was playing, I was telling myself, hey, you're having fun, when I genuinely wasn't. Compare that to Skyrim, playing it almost 12 years later. I still have a blast just wandering for hours and getting lost, always finding something new to do, a new quest to go on, a new dungeon to explore, and it's never boring. And just for context of that, I put over 500 hours into my first Skyrim playthrough and never actually finished the main quest. Not because it was bad, but because I constantly kept getting lost on new things. And to be completely honest, I didn't feel that with Starfield a single time. So that's why I am really worried about the Elder Scrolls 6, and that they're going to treat the game the same way they did Starfield, and we won't get that Elder Scrolls magic that we're so accustomed to. Whether that means hiring new people, getting writers that actually know what they're doing, having a team that's inspired to bring that magic to life, and caring about creating a good game above everything else. So hopefully Bethesda does that, and it lives up to the hype that's been building for so long now, but we'll just have to wait and see. To finish off this video, let's switch gears and talk about this Oblivion rumor. Now, I love Oblivion. Not quite as much as Skyrim, but a lot of that's due to the age of the game. So when I heard this rumor about a potential Oblivion remaster, I got really excited. But is there any truth to this? How much validity does this leak have? Well, let's find out. This started back in 2023, when the parent company of Bethesda, ZeniMax, had some internal documents leak about future plans. And while the release schedule is very clearly out of date, there is an Oblivion remaster listed, and this was an official document, with many of the games that leaked on here eventually coming out. And when we compare it to others listed at the same time, it looks like it should be coming pretty soon. And now we have this new rumor from a supposed former employee, stating that an Oblivion remaster is coming developed in Unreal Engine 5, stating that the game is going to have a new blocking system inspired by Souls-likes, an improved sneaking system, improved archery, modified stamina, and an updated HUD, and is supposed to be coming this year, according to someone else in June. Now, this does seem to be more than just an off-the-cuff rumor, as the details about the remaster were posted on a website by the former employee of the studio creating the game and unintentionally publicized. So it doesn't seem to be somebody clout chasing or doing this for attention. It was never meant to go public. But still, a few things about this stick out to me as pretty weird. First of all, why Unreal Engine 5? Bethesda has their own engine, and it seems a little weird to do a remaster in an entirely different one by a third-party studio. That sounds like a ton of unnecessary work. I don't really have any issue with the systems they described. I think a lot of systems in Oblivion do need a modernization, but it's been a while since I played it, so I'm not going to give my opinion on the specifics of that. But given that we have a lot of different people coming and saying that, yeah, this is real, I do give this more stock than just a random rumor. I'm not holding out a ton of hope, but if it is real, I'll be very happy. I would love to play an Oblivion remaster. But that's where I'm going to end things. What do you guys think? Do you believe this leak? How are you feeling about the Elder Scrolls 6? What do you want to see? And do you think it'll live up to all the hype, especially after all this time? Either way though, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure sure to leave a like on it. And if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. I'll do my best to keep you guys up to date on more Elder Scrolls 6 news whenever that comes out. But with all that, I will catch you in the next one.